So that's one good question. A lot of really interesting bits there as well. So I will ask you, let me just get your data up here. So it looks like you're up in the, you have the assessment screen up and running. And just so I know that we're on the same page, you see a number on the left-hand side right now of your screen?
Yes.
Okay. Would you mind telling me what number that is?
24.0 something.
Okay. Is it a positive or a negative?
Negative, sorry.
Great. That's okay. That's okay. Just a bit of me being a clinician doing a couple of checks there just to make sure we're seeing things, visual fields are okay, and all that good stuff. So, okay. So we're on the same page here. I'm seeing what you're seeing on my side. So this is really good. Now, I want to do a kind of a 3-step evaluation process here, and we can kind of figure out our values, our starting values, and these will be our kind of ground truth for how we progress going forward.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I thought this might be helpful.
What's that?
There we go.
Oh, great. Great. Okay. Yeah, that's great. I like how you're also using it in kind of more that supinated position. That's totally fine. So pretty happy with that as well.
That was another one of my questions.
Yep.
I'm actually struggling to get into pronation right now.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Very, very common, probably. I've dealt with this with a number of individuals, and I'd say ultimately we want to get to that position, be able to have that ability to sort of discriminate movements, rotations, from flexions and extensions, these sorts of things. But for the time being, it's okay to adopt those postures in which you are most comfortable. So for right now, I think that's totally fine. So, okay, so very good. So what we'll do is I would like you to go ahead and try to move as much as you can into extension. Go as much as you can. Great. And so one thing I'm also going to remind you, so just pause there for a second. Since you have it on your left side, you may have heard me talk about this mirroring activities. So let's use your right hand. So right hand and left hand simultaneously, I'm going to have you move them into extension. So let's have you go up with both hands as far as you can. Great. And then I'm going to have you go down as far as you can into flexion. Okay. Some trace movements there. That's okay. Very good. And does it make sense why I'm asking you to use both hands there?
Yes, I do that quite a bit. And actually,
very good.
That was one of my questions in my midst of my long letter to you.
Okay. Yes. And like I said, I will do my best to answer those. And I think there were a lot of really good questions there. So I'll do my best to answer those. And actually, some of these might even be good as just me creating a video, because I think a lot of people have questions about this. So maybe you could tell me if it would be helpful to have a video answer of me, I guess rather a video of me answering those questions, such that people don't have to necessarily read a novel. Would that seem like a reasonable path forward for that?
I'm a reader, but I think any sort of information can be helpful. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Let's do this. So let's go ahead and do our next step here. We'll do our passive check. So go ahead and relax. And I'm going to do a couple modifications here. There's going to be some assistance coming into your Motus hand. You may feel it start to move a little bit. Now, I'm going to have you actually go ahead and relax as much as you can and close your eyes. And I would like you, and I understand you said you might have some difficulty with this process, but I'd like you to tell me as soon as you feel the Motus hand move you for the very first time. And don't rely on the sound, because the sound will kind of give it away. Just do your best to sort of feel what's happening in your hand. So let me know as soon as you feel anything there. And this will also kind of help me tell where we may have some intact sensations, because there are differences in the different actual sensory end organs that do various things in our muscles and our skin. So Paul, are you still with me there?
I am.
Very good.
Think when using the sound, which, you know, I know that I can, when I have more of a sense of something when it's prolonged versus just a short.
Sure. So, but with your left hand right now, do you feel anything moving?
No.
Okay. Very good. And what we can do is go ahead and open up your eyes right now. I want you to appreciate how much you've actually moved. And so, yeah, there is some significant impaired sensation there, Polly. So I think this is one of these reasons why we would certainly want to leverage that visual information because we can't rely on those normal proprioceptive or cutaneous sensations that give us some indication of where your body is in space. So I think that's going to be a key for you. I will say this though, really good movement in terms of the actual capacity. So that's really good.
I have worked so hard for almost 5 years to preserve range of motion. So.
Yep. And it is quite evident. And so what I'd like you to do now, Polly, is go ahead and flex down as far as you can for me. Great. Very good. So nice movement and deflection though, and that's really good. So now what I'd like to do, I'm going to put a little bit of assistance in here. Just relax. Okay. A little bit of assistance there. And I'd like you to flex down against this for me. So go ahead and flex as far as you can. Great. And then I'm going to have you move up as far as you can. Great. So that's interesting, Paul. You see that? When you have that assistance, you actually are able to move up into extension. I hope you're appreciating that right now.
Yes.
So as those numbers are going up, this is really, really good. Let's keep going up, keep going up, keep going up, keep going up. Very good. Okay. I'm going to go a little bit, relax for me here. A little bit more there. Okay. Now I'm going to have you go up again as far as you can. Great. I'm going to have you go down into flexion. So this is, I think what you're talking about here is there's some weakness that happens, and that's okay. As that assistance goes up, the forces are going up, and that's expected. So from here, I'm going to have you try to extend as much as you can. Okay. And also, I wonder if you can see this. There is a little bit of this, what's called reciprocal activation. When I'm asking you to go up, you might actually temporarily see those numbers go down. And that's the fact that the circuits are a bit, it's a bit of a simplification, but they're a little bit crisscrossed. And so when your body is trying to put effort in, your brain is trying really, really hard to do the movements, what it does is it just sends a bulk activation to your muscles. And those that are most dominant, which happen to be your flexors in your upper extremity, they just happen to kick on. And that's why we get that activation into flexion.
In my note.
Yeah. Very, very common. Very, very common. But I'd say that this is really encouraging though, Polly. I think the fact that you're getting some movement into extension with those levels of assistance is really good. You've got good available range of motion. And so I'm going to make a couple of modifications here to our values. So I'm going to do a couple of things. One, I'm going to increase our upper limit into extension. And I'm also going to, I'm going to actually, surprisingly, I'm going to reduce the level of assistance a little bit here. And this may help combat some of the fatigue that you're experiencing. So I'm going to have you hit the back button, and then we'll actually go into some of the games, and we're actually going to test this. I want to see exactly where we are in the real gameplay. So go ahead and hit home for me. And then you can go ahead and hit begin therapy. And while we get this up and running, would you mind telling me exactly what you like about the games and which ones you don't? So we can kind of make modifications if needed.
I don't care for Motus pets.
Okay. Very good. I can take that off.
And I really like Cosmic Tennis and Brick Breaker.
Okay.
Although, did you know Brick Breaker is right-handed?
Brick Breaker is right-handed. What do you mean by right-handed, Polly?
If I have my right hand in front of me and I'm going into extension, that's to the right, and flexion is to the left.
Yep.
My left hand is opposite. I have to translate movement to
Yeah. You
the
have to
game.
do a little. You have to do a little mapping in your brain, right, to
I'm a
reverse it.
true left. Yeah, I'm a true lefty. So
Sure.
that game is backwards.
Okay, understood. I think generally speaking, I understand your experience there. I'd say it also was designed to be used in that sort of pranay position, and so in those cases, the up, whether it's right or left hand, would be a right-sided movement, and a down and deflection would be a left-sided movement. So I think that becomes a little bit,
which is still very right biased.
yeah, and I'd say it may appear that way, but when we actually think about how to make generalized rehab sort of interventions, we want to have different ways that your brain is having to control your limb, right? If we just had very simple mapping, up down was up exactly up down in the games, that would become maybe less effective long term. So we want to actually challenge the way your brain is having to control your limb. And for you, this is a double challenge because A, you have a rotation in your normal posture, and you're also using your on your left side. So I'd say it's a bit more challenging than it would be for a right-handed individual, for sure. Well, okay, so let's go ahead and hit play here and let's see what's going on. Very good. So this one, as you probably can tell, is a more of a tone reduction game. Now, we very much encourage people to try their best to extend, right? Because one of the best ways to get the reduction in tone of our flexors is actually to use the thing called reciprocal inhibition. So whenever your extensors turn on, that reflexively will turn off your flexors. So we can kind of leverage this circuitry that's built into our spinal cords to help with this process. And so while the simple idea is that it's just a passive exercise here where you're just stretching and warming up, it actually turns out to be better if we can have some more active engagement of those extensors. So I very much encourage you to do that. Okay. Very good. So any other questions for me, Polly?
Well, not today.
Yeah, of course. I do have the list that I will
oh, yes,
chip
there
away
is
at.
one.
Okay.
Best practices for turning off everything when I'm finished for the day.
Oh, yeah, good. So I'd say first things first is make sure you have it taken off. So off of your left arm there. And the best thing to do is there's just a power button on the front. You can just press that. And that will turn the system off, the screen off. But what's nice about that is that will allow the updates in the background to take place. And so if there's, for instance, some software updates that need to happen to fix a bug that we've identified, that will be able to download in the background. And so that should make it easier the next time, easier and quicker rather the next time. The other thing that I like about that approach is that even though you have the power off button hit, um, the data can still be transmitted such that if you find that there might be some communication issue and there is a local storage of data on your console and that needs to hit the server so it can be analyzed. So that will also allow it to happen. So generally speaking, leave it on in terms of just general best practices. Now, if there is a bug, for instance, something's not behaving correctly, feel free to unplug it from the wall to do what we call a hard power cycle. I'm sure you might have experienced that by now, but those are kind of the best practices under
yes, I did because it went with me to OT on Monday.
Okay, very good. So actually, Polly, I hope you appreciate now that you've already started to move down a couple of ticks, and you're approaching that 300 mark, which is really good.
I've been working hard.
Yeah, I know. So we can see actually even in the data, I don't know if you're able to see my screen here, the data, you're seeing that you're actually getting a slow increase in those values, which is really nice. Very good. So let's go ahead and hit play or next here. And I want to make sure that we're working well on our couple of motor control games. Okay. Okay, you can go ahead and hit play, Polly. Okay, let's see here how this goes. Great. Now, how would you rate this now as compared to previously?
I think it feels more difficult.
More difficult, okay. It is going to be harder because I did increase those ranges of motion, so that's very expected.
And I'm thrilled about that.
Okay.
Very happy.
Yeah, it's a big change because it's going from about 25 or 26 to around 40. So it is a sizable change, but again, I want to make sure that you have access to that range of motion so you can practice in it. So that's a really important thing we needed to make an adjustment for.
What are the maximum values?
Yeah, so 25 into flexion and 55 up into extension.
So I'm really happy.
Yes. Yep. Okay. Okay. Well, Polly, what are your thoughts here so far? I mean, I know it's going to be hard. It's going to be a little bit of a learning curve, but I'm relatively happy with where we are right now. I think what we might want to do next is I made that adjustment to your prescription, so Motus Pets is no longer there. And I went ahead and actually upped the brick breaker and the cosmic tennis time to accommodate for that difference. Is that okay?
That's fantastic.
Okay, great. So what I recommend doing then is let's go forward with this and we can touch base and track our progress. I do have these numbers written down, so I know kind of where we are as baseline, and we can use this as a good comparison going forward.
Okay.
Great. And like I said, I will, once I get everything answered, I will be sure to follow up with you, that email.
Okay.
And if there are sort of video recordings, I'll be sure to send those to you as well.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Great. Okay. Well, all right, Polly, thanks so much for your time. I'm going to jump off here. I got to head to one of my next meetings. But it was such a pleasure chatting with you today.
It's nice to chat with you as well.
Okay. All right. And like I said, if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me, okay?
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Polly. Bye for now.